Thursday, November 9th, Carroll County Commissioners open meeting. I want to welcome everybody here. And as we typically do, let's pledge allegiance to our president.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if everybody can take a moment of silence, which I just interrupted. Commissioner Rothstein is representing us at MACO board meeting and will not be here today. And I'd like to start with Priority Carroll, Commissioner Vigliotti.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kyler. Good morning, everybody. There have been a number of functions, events, and gatherings that I've attended with my fellow commissioners, but I'll let them speak to those. I'm going to confine my comments this morning to one thing as a matter of respect and importance. As you may have heard over the weekend, the Black and Hill families in the Francis Scott Key community suffered the tragic loss of Charles Black III, his wife Barbara Black, his wife's sister Debbie Hill, and their grandson Gage Black, who is a student at FSK. I ask that you please keep those who have suffered this tragedy in your prayers, and if you're able to do so, a GoFundMe has been set up to defray the financial burden of the funeral costs, and you can find the link to that on my commissioner's Facebook page if you are able to donate. If you'd prefer to donate by check, you can write to the funeral care of the Hartzler Funeral Home, either at 6 East Broadway in Union Bridge, Maryland, 21791, or P.O. Box 249, New Windsor, Maryland, 21776. Again, I ask that you keep everyone who's been affected by this terrible tragedy in your prayers and donate if you are able to do so. You know, these are the moments when the only things that matter are love and helping one's neighbor, and we as Carroll County always rise to the occasion. And Commissioner Kyler, that's it for me this morning. Thank you.
And if I can just piggyback this part, yeah, that was a tragic accident, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it, Debbie Hill was at a different funeral home than the rest of the family, and there is a GoFundMe page. There's a lot of stuff, and then I want to thank Francis Scott Key for all they did. The students had a celebration Monday morning at Gage's parking space, and what I'm hearing is it very much touched the mom, and she spent a good part of the day at Francis Scott Key because of all that. So it's great that our students step up and do stuff. And then I want to thank Citizens Services, Celine Stickle. The last thing I've heard from them is I wanted to reach back out and let you know that our Veteran Services Program had worked with Mr. Black back in 2014. We've located a telephone number for his daughter and plan to reach out to make sure she is aware of VA benefits that may be available to help with his burial costs. So I want to thank Citizen Services for stepping up and helping. And I'll do another quick commercial with that. It just shows what Carroll County does for our veterans, and it's very fortunate that he was one. But I want to encourage the family, if you don't hear from somebody, if we can't contact you, please reach out to the county to make sure he gets what he's due.
Yes.
And then I'll be last, but I just wanted to get that part in. Commissioner Gordon.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And to both of your points, definitely tragic accident this past weekend, and obviously it's something that's profoundly touched a wide array of the community, and definitely my prayers and sympathies out to both the Black and Hill family with the situations and the loss of life in their families. You know, it kind of brings things into context for all of us, and you know, we all have our busy days and so forth, but you know, we come together really well as a community. But I think the other thing is this, just try to appreciate every day. I know we all do that, but at times we do have those moments we should slow down and kind of reevaluate, and I think we're all in need of that at times. But I concur with both of you on the tragic loss this past weekend. So for those of you that may have noticed throughout the county since the beginning of this week, November 6th to November 12th, you'll probably have seen some illuminated green buildings in other areas of the county. Some are private citizens, some are other organizations. Thank you to the Carroll County Youth Service Bureau for participating in Operation Greenlight this week. So November 6th through the 12th. The lighting is part of Operation Greenlight, which is a national collaborative initiative to support military veterans as well as raise awareness about the unique challenges facing many of our veterans and looking to get them additional resources available from county, state, and federal. As many of you may have already seen, the Carroll County Commissioner, or the county building is also lit up green for that. But if you have the opportunity and you can do so, please light up your properties and support. Definitely something to always keep our veterans in our minds. Another thing I want to mention just very briefly this morning, Carroll County Farm Museum is doing a holiday tour for 2023, so December 2nd and 3rd, December 9th and 10th, and then December 16th and 17th. They'll be having the log cabin decorated with for the holidays. Santa, I believe, will be making an appearance, so for anybody that has kids that want to go out and see Santa, definitely something to go out and visit the Farm Museum that time of year and see a lot of the holiday decor and decorations.
What if I want to see Santa?
You can do that. I'm not going to say no.
Have you been a good boy?
Well, that's up for you guys to decide. I think I've been okay this year.
I'm going to plead the fifth on that, Joe, but it's okay. But another thing I wanted to bring up, since we are in that holiday time of year, locally here in Westminster, Shepherd's staff is hosting their Thanksgiving community dinner, which they host each year at St. John's here in Westminster. Rock Salt is involved with that, and thank you to them and everybody involved. They'll be involved with preparing turkey, stuffing, and gravy, as well as other local restaurants will be involved and other individuals. This is an opportunity, if you have the ability to still make donations for this. There's a wide array of things that are still in need for this event. Donations can be dropped off November 22nd between 3 and 5 p.m. And there's more information on the Shepherd Staff Facebook page if you're interested, and you can find that on Facebook online. And my last thing I will bring up this morning, many of you may have seen this press release late yesterday, but I did want to mention this, and this should make all of us feel good in the somewhat challenging economic times we all live in. But Carroll County can announce that we are one of the elite counties. We received AAA bond rating recently from our major financial group agencies, Fitch, Moody's, and S&P Global Ratings all gave us AAA rating, which is something to definitely for everyone to be proud of. It's the highest possible rating a county can receive. All three major financial rating agencies praise the county for our financial standards. This rating is very significant as it will allow the county to finance capital projects at the lowest possible cost, which is a benefit to all of us that live here. The county plans to issue $30 million in new bonds as of November 16th, and the bond sale will be dedicated to various infrastructure and other capital investment projects, such as general government usage, public schools, and conservation and water resources. So that's something we can all be very proud of, and it does show the dedication of all the people that work for Carroll County government, and much appreciation and thank you to our staff, not only that were involved in that presentation, but in keeping us in the strongest fiscal stance possible. So that's all I have this morning. Thank you.
Commissioner Garin.
Thank you, and good morning, Carroll County. You can tell where our mind is for all of us this morning. It's on that tragic accident that occurred Saturday evening. It was actually down in my district, and as often is the case, the first information you hear about an accident is not quite accurate. The information that was coming out was that it involved some possible South Carroll students, so you can imagine the community down there for at least a couple hours was really in a bad place, and of course the news just got worse from there, losing a student from FSK and many members of the family. So and I want to thank the sheriff that evening for helping me get the right information out to the community quickly. So Sheriff DeWeese, thank you for that, for putting me in touch with the Maryland State Police. But I was going to mention the GoFundMe page as well, and there you have it. I would encourage everybody to contribute. to honor those that were killed in that just horrible accident up there on Route 26 that so many of us down in that area are familiar with. From that, from honoring people who have passed, I did want to mention a GoFundMe page coming out of South Carroll High School that is designed to save lives. And if you're so inclined, after you contribute to the Black and Hill families, there's a number of young women at South Carroll High School that are started a GoFundMe page to buy essentially it's an infant simulator, so they can actually train on as close as you can get to an actual infant. There's not much more to explain than that. It's self-explanatory, but I commend all of them. There's a picture of them there for deciding that they wanted to go a step further in what they're learning and what they're trying to teach others by getting this particular simulator, which I've gone online and looked at, and it's pretty extraordinary how it really does mimic what you see with an infant. So go ahead and contribute. Let's honor those who we've lost, and then maybe if you can find it in your heart, contribute to this effort that is going to save lives. And speaking of saving lives, I haven't mentioned 988 much lately. I'm honored to serve as the 988 ambassador for Carroll County, and that group is always busy. And just to remind everybody, 988, it's available 24 hours a day. It's free and confidential. We've always got our thing up here. It's free and confidential. You're going to get an answer right away. When you call, it's even going to offer you a menu of a more guided assistance. It's a real lifeline, but 988, don't forget it. Tragedies occur. I just mentioned a few. If people are hurting, reach out to 988. It's an incredible regional resource, which I think is the best part of it. But they're really busy in Carroll County. They're actually busy throughout the state. So I commend the folks running that program for that. But even Carroll County, I wanted to highlight just recently, I want to thank the team and all those at the health department and all those ambassadors throughout the county, always at various groups, working closely with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, attending events throughout the county, attending events at Carroll Community College, reaching out to folks that at different high schools, going around to businesses that are allowing them to put information out in front of the stores to advertise 988. They attended the Caregivers Conference. They attended a Labor Day picnic, and will take materials that the National Alliance on Mental Health puts out and provide those to people and make sure they're on websites and people can watch them. So 988, it can be a tough time of year, unfortunately. The holidays can, so let's not forget about those three numbers. Very simple, and help is literally a phone call away. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Two kind of points of order before I start my priority, Carol. I do want to thank Commissioner Rothstein for attending the Mako Fall Board retreat and representing us there, and I'm sure we're going to hear a good report from him. Now, of note, and I don't think a camera can look at it, in the back of the room we have a clock, and according to the clock, we've been here 4.5 hours. That won't make us operate any more quickly. I don't want anybody to think they conned us, but good afternoon, all. I love Carroll County, and I just want to piggyback the county's AAA credit rating, which is awesome, and Commissioner Gordon explained it. The photo up now, Sunday I went to the National Hall of Fame for wrestling banquet for the Maryland chapter in Annapolis, and we were fortunate to have Mr. Duffy. Michael works for Carroll County Public Schools in charge of athletics, and he was inducted. And it was, 325 people there. It was a great event. And as you guys know, I love wrestling, and it was a great day. Carroll County, we had our MDOT fall tour with the Secretary of Transportation. The district engineer was here. all of the commissioners, one delegate and one state senator, and almost all of the cities and towns were represented. And it was a great meeting. They put out a great presentation, and everybody from a government jurisdiction that was interesting got to ask questions and present things they wanted done. I had breakfast earlier this week with many volunteer firemen representing probably 6 or 7 different companies, and it's always great to get together with them. And again, if there's one note I want to make, and I've assured them we all consistently say it, yes, we're in the process of a hybrid system with paid EMS and working on that in Carroll County and using a lot of tax dollars to make that happen. We still have volunteer fire companies, and they still need money, they need support, they need us to support their fundraisers, carnivals, bingo, et cetera, and I just wanted to re-emphasize that. I went to the Rec and Parks Volunteer and Hall of Fame celebration. I was fortunate that Liz Piper from North Carroll Rec Council, and she's standing with my son, Andy, who happens to be the president of North Carroll Rec Council. They were there represented, and that was great. We all got to see Bob Hicks in action, our new director, and he and Lisa did a great evening. Delegate Boucher was there, some commissioners were there, and I know when you mention somebody, you're always excluding somebody, but Bob and Bobby Lord got a volunteer plaque for things they've done many years with fishing. I'm not a big fan of fishing, but I know a lot of people in Carroll County are, and they do 2 of the 3 rec events. One in Westminster, and they do that. Rec and Parks named 3 new Hall of Fame members, Buddy Brown, Carolyn Garber, and Luna Greenfelder. And it's amazing. We've said it many times, we can't afford to pay for what all volunteers in Carroll County, for Rec and Parks and for many, many, many other departments do. And it was so obvious that night looking around the room and looking at the 3 Hall of Fame members and what they've done for how many years. And that was one of them made the comment, you know, until tonight I never really thought about how many years I've been doing this. And volunteers don't, they just do it. I went to an opioid prevention meeting in Manchester Valley. Tim Weber and Haven Shoemaker were there from the state's attorney's office. There was a packed gym, and the students were quiet and attentive, and I just hope that message got out to a lot of people. Tim Weber spoke, his daughter spoke, another person in recovery spoke, and all of us have been touched by opioids. And unfortunately, my touching hasn't been with people in recovery, but it's just, I just can't believe what some of them do to first get into recovery and then stay there. And, you know, it's, my brother mentioned he loves sweets, and if we tried to make him stop sweets, we're not sure we could be successful. Well, that's much easier than opioids or other addictions. And it was a great thing. I think he does it at every high school throughout the year, and it was great. I need to apologize for the health department. I did go to that and not their opioid 2-hour meeting, and I apologize, but I'll be there next month. Many veterans and Veterans Day, Veterans Week activities going on, a lot at the schools, a lot at different American Legions, VFWs, in the communities. Please go out and support all of our veterans. On Saturday, I'm going to go to the Students and Friends of Robert Moten meeting mid-morning, but I'm going to try to get to some things around it, and I'm going that evening to support Manchester Valley. well, I say I'm going there to support them, but I'm also getting to eat a meal and see their play, so maybe they're supporting me. But please support your veterans. Thanks for you guys bringing up the tragic accident. That way I don't have to end my thing on a negative. But I'll end it on a positive. The Boys and Girls Club, I think November 28th is the date of the event where they're going to dunk a bunch of people. There's a website. Please go out. Here we have, you don't look wet.
Not yet, but it's going to be a tough competition to keep up with Terry Smack.
Mr. Singer is representing himself and us, and he's versus Terry Smack. And my understanding is she has a video billboard on 140, so she may outdo him. He may be the one in the water, I'm not sure. But, and I went online and supported both of them because I don't care who gets wet, but the Boys and Girls Club gets the money. So please go on and do that. Who's representing? You're representing the college,
So,
okay?
Yep, Carroll versus McDaniel, so
Yeah,
I'm representing
both
Carroll.
colleges are there against each other, and
Help keep me dry.
you're keeping dry? More power to you. But I wanted to end on a positive, and please support Boys and Girls Club and come out and get to see these two people wet. I know you won't be wet, right?
Hopefully not.
Okay.
We'll raise lots of money.
Thank you very much. Now we have a proclamation that Commissioner Gordon's going to read.
Thank you. I do have to ask, though, Commissioner Kyler, is there any chance they might get you to attend and participate next year? They've had me in that previously, and I did not end up getting wet, so that was good.
Yeah.
But definitely, as you pointed out, to a great cause.
It's a great cause, so yes, whatever you say.
You may regret that later, but anyway. So we have a proclamation this morning. It's for the National Apprenticeship Week. So November 13th through November 19th. Whereas National Apprenticeship Week is celebrating its 9th anniversary of raising awareness of the vital role registered apprenticeships provide in creating opportunities by allowing apprentices to earn while they learn and prepare a pathway to well-paying careers in Carroll County and across the nation. And registered apprenticeship programs offer high-quality, affordable care pathways enabling businesses to develop, train, and retain their workforce. Through the availability of tax credits and employee tuition benefits, employers can develop a highly skilled workforce that helps improve productivity, profitability, and the bottom line, thus growing their businesses. And Carroll County recognizes the role of registered apprenticeship in expanding opportunities in our workforce that are inclusive of individuals who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality, thus providing a path for all qualified individuals to become apprentices and contribute to America's industries. And Carroll County recognizes that registered apprenticeship, a proven and industry-driven training model, is a key strategy to improving job quality and creating access to good-paying, family-sustaining jobs for all, starting with youth and young adults. This program also addresses some of our nation's pressing workforce challenges, such as rebuilding our country's infrastructure, addressing critical supply chain demands, supporting a clean energy workforce, modernizing our cybersecurity response, and responding to care economy issues. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim November 13th through November 19th, 2023 as National Apprenticeship Week, adopted this 19th day of November 2023, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners.
Thank you, and I'm sure Heather Powell, the manager of Carroll County Workforce, has a lot to tell us.
I would like to share some information. We just sort of parked ourselves up here early so we could speak to you before we get started. Apprenticeship is so important moving forward, as the proclamation just said, and we wanted to share, I think the first thing that comes to mind when people think of apprenticeship, they think of trades and traditional apprenticeships, but that's not apprenticeships of today. We talked about serving marginalized and underserved populations in our community to give everybody a pathway to a good job. But it's also where employers need to be looking for the future, investing in their workforce. We're trying to think of different ways to engage people post-COVID and fill vacant job positions that are prevalent not only in our county but across the nation. Apprenticeship is a good pathway to this. apprenticeship requires partnership, so I have several people in the room I'd like to introduce this morning and then hear from a couple of our partners. But our board chair, Zach Tomlin, for the Carroll County Workforce Board. I have staff members Scott Singleton, Sandy Miller, who are on business services team, Stan Whiteman, who is our operations resource manager, and Sheila Jackson with the Department of Apprenticeship for Maryland Labor, Dr. Kelly Cormer with the Community College, and Ted McNett for Carroll County Public Schools. So with that, Sheila, if you would like to add anything about apprenticeship and maybe talk about what's happening around the state this week.
Sure. So, indeed, we have identified this model to be a viable workforce solution. And I am extremely focused on building the programs within Carroll County because coming into the position, I saw that was a great need. So within the last year, we've grown the youth apprenticeship program, and we are currently working on, and I don't know if I should say this because she said she didn't want to be.
Don't jinx it. We can.
Okay, okay. So I've been working diligently to build an apprenticeship program, registered apprenticeship program for Heidelberg Materials for the occupation of millwright. So we will be presenting this program next week, Tuesday, the 14th, before the council for approval. So we've worked very hard, long hours, very diligent, and I am confident that, we're going to move this forward. And that has opened up another pathway because talking to Kelly, we're going to be adding another occupation. So in addition to Heidelberg, working with this great group of individuals, we look forward to bringing more registered apprenticeship programs to Carroll County. Thank you.
So Heidelberg is going before the committee next week, and they just didn't want us to jinx it by talking about it. But I think everybody has crossed their T's, dotted their I's, and it's a good program. And the community college is involved in the training piece of that. So Kelly, if you'd like to talk about what's happening at the community college. we'd
Sure.
appreciate that.
And Commissioners, thank you so much for supporting apprenticeship. The college is pleased to be a partner in the technical instruction portion of apprenticeships to complement the on-the-job training that our employers provide. And to be partners with these organizations here in the county and at the state definitely helps support our community in growing our workforce. We have two very well-established apprenticeships that are 4 years. One is HVAC and the other is an electrical apprenticeship. But we're excited to be embarking with our partner, Heidelberg, and fingers crossed, of course, even though there's been a lot of great work going into it, that they will be approved. And I'll be down at that meeting on Tuesday morning with them and providing support. So we are excited that we would be able to now bring on a millwright apprenticeship here in the county. And because now we have an approved apprenticeship, we're hoping that we can be able to leverage that to work with more employers to support industrial maintenance technicians and the growth in that industry. We're also very excited that we've received a subaward from the Maryland Department of Labor to help build a hospitality management apprenticeship here to support local employers to upskill their existing workforce or bring in new workers to help in the management in the hospitality industry. The important part of this this program, as well as our other programs, is that it's designed to create a credit-based hospitality management program where we'll be able to leverage our credit business management curriculum to be able to encourage people to get degrees while they're getting the on-the-job training and then the journey person status. All of the programs at Carroll, registered apprenticeships can be awarded up to 6 college credits for every year of completed apprenticeship once a person reaches their journey person status and gets that certification. So it's a pathway to lifelong learning for individuals, and they have an opportunity at the college to be able to upskill. But we certainly couldn't do it without the partnerships and the community that we have here, so thank you for recognizing apprenticeships and bringing that to light here in our county.
Thank you, Kelly. The other piece about apprenticeship I think is worth noting is the work we're doing with Pillar 3 and Blueprint, and we're talking about outcomes that are different for students, and certainly youth apprenticeship is one pathway to that. And the work that Carroll County Public Schools is doing, Ted, I don't know if you want to say anything, but they're practicing what they preach, and they're standing up youth apprenticeships. They have, I think you have 4, Ted? Transportation, maintenance, teacher, tech services, and teacher assistant. And so I think I would love to see Carroll County government support this in the future. We've worked with facilities, so we're starting that conversation. Public Works, we're starting that conversation. And I just think it's a great way to bring people into entry-level jobs.
And you and the school system, prior to Blueprint, were working together with a lot of things.
Yes, this just reinforces this partnership in Carroll County that we've had longstanding with the school system, the community college, Department of Labor. It takes everybody. Our business services team is out meeting with businesses. Part of this is helping businesses understand that it doesn't have to be difficult to stand up apprenticeships, but when they do, they're investing in their workforce. And I think it's worth mentioning a data point: 92% of apprentices remain on the job, where are retained, and not many employers can say they have a retention rate of 92%. That's significant, and I think it's worth listening to. And so we're there to help employers build these out.
And I just want to add another piece to that. We received a testimonial from one of our sponsors, and she compared the process, the normal hiring process, to coming through a registered apprenticeship program. And it's the 3 components that are working in tandem. It's the related instruction, the on-the-job training, and the progressive wage scale. So it's very well structured, and that is, I think, the reason why we have such a high retention rate.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You ready for a photo?
Let's do it.
No, thank you.
We have a small crowd, if that's okay.
We maybe want to be up behind the, like 2 rows? Seeing you, Ted. How you doing, brother?
We're going to do the photo from behind.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Everybody. I wondered how you got in the building.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, item 1 on our agenda, we're going to have Mr. Zaleski give us an update on the first quarter of the budget. And this just reinforces we're always working on budget, right?
Always. All right, this is just to give you a little sense of where we are, how things are looking. It's still very early in the year, particularly on the revenue side. There's much that we don't know. But with what we know now, as an ending point, we would expect about $7.5 million to be left at the end of the year. That would either be revenue in excess of budget or spending below budget. Of that, almost $5 million of that is already assigned to fiscal year '26, so that would leave a little bit under $3 million of expectation at this point. On the revenue side, we don't have any expectations right now of revenue coming in excess of budget. Again, long way to go, things could change. Income tax, of course, is always the big question mark. We are a little bit ahead of budget right now, but that was because of a distribution related to delinquent payments. That's not something that you get one year and count on again the next year. Our first big distribution will be at the end of this month, so that'll give us the first look at what we see happening now.
Does the first look tell you a whole lot?
It doesn't tell you anything that you can say then with confidence what's going to happen. You know, it gives you some things to think about. But as we've talked about before, you know, even from one quarter to another quarter in the same year, sometimes things change, and it's not always easy to explain exactly why. Recordation, we actually have some concern that this might not make budget. Now, you might remember the last handful of years, recordation has been really, really strong. We actually got to a point that was about the biggest year we ever had. We knew that that wasn't going to continue as things have started to change in the housing market. We're seeing this drop off, not unexpected at all. The trick is figuring out where does it drop off to. And what's going on right now, values and the amount people are paying in recordation is staying steady. The number of transactions is falling off now. So while we had gotten up around $20 million, I think, we budgeted $15.5 million this year. Based on the first 4 months, we're projecting $13.8 million, so about $1.5 million less than what we budgeted. But again, too early to say that that is good, what's going to happen. So right now, all the year-ending surplus that we're projecting would be on the expenditure side. Much of that is open positions, no one place, number of places through the organization. But the biggest piece of it is the reserve for contingencies, which largely is unused. We don't have any specific plans right now for any major use. So of that $7.7 million, 6.2 of it is because the reserve for contingencies is there. So that's kind of a quick look at what we see right now. There are a couple other things I wanted to mention to you in connection with, you know, where we might be going this year. One is the possibility of a federal shutdown. My comments here are not meant to be political in any way or saying what we think should or shouldn't happen, just saying if there's a federal shutdown, there are implications for us. And I think sometimes people might think, well, that's the federal government. Why would you be worried about it? And it touches us in lots of ways, though. First, one very direct one, I think I saw somewhere that 8% of the people working for the federal government live in Carroll County. So if people are out of work, out of paychecks, that's money that's not coming in. Now, historically, when these things have happened, Congress has later voted to restore that pay. But at the very least, that messes up timing of money and makes things more complicated to know what's coming in. Of course, there's no guarantee that that happens. But less direct, there are lots of independent contractors that live in Carroll County and do federal work. If they're out of work, there is no later remedy like there is for people with paychecks. That could be income that is just lost and income tax revenue that is lost to us. But then it touches us in other ways, too. There are lots of things that happen between the federal government and Carroll County. There are federal grants. If people aren't working, do grants come to a halt? Does that get in the way of something we're trying to do? There are federal agencies we have to depend on for certain things happening, for approvals for some things. What implications does that have for us? So it's one of those things I can't sit here and say, here are the 10 things that are going to happen, but I'm saying there are possibilities that things that will be a problem for us, could be out there. The other is state budget. We've talked a little bit about, the multi-year outlook is not good. Their spending affordability committee met recently, and they were talking over what things look like and reaffirmed that things don't look good. There's talk on some people of tax increases to increase revenue. There's talk by other people of reducing spending. On the reducing spending side, there's just no way to pretend that it works any other way. If the state reduces spending, it will have an impact on us. I can't tell you what that impact will be. But, we might find ourselves in a situation where we have expectations of the state that change, and we'll be left to figure out what do we do with that. And then also on the state, topic of much conversation, but this is still a big question mark as we think about what this budget will be, and that's the blueprint legislation. Where is that going to go? Will there be legislation to change things? It would seem unlikely for legislation to actually impact us in this fiscal year, not impossible, though. So this might be more about looking to next year than this, but it's so big, we just have to keep it in the conversation, I think. So unless you have some questions, that is all I really wanted to share today.
I appreciate that. You mentioned you mentioned recordation. Did want to ask, and I know it's only been several months, but any thoughts on where the impact fees that were placed back several months ago, where is that what is that turning into at this point?
I have not looked at that. That's very directly driven by people applying to build houses. So it's an easily knowable number. How many are there? But I don't know. But in recent years, we've been building 300 to 400 houses a year. I don't have any reason to expect that it's changed dramatically from that.
Okay, and I was just curious because obviously we're at such a limited number of houses available in the economy inventory wise. I was just kind of curious if we were seeing any, what the level of revenue might be, and we can talk about that at a later date. But was just kind of curious what that might be and what the impact might be, no pun intended, on the county as a whole. So.
Yeah, and I will check on where we are. Like when you adopted the change, I suggested that this, be a help towards school construction, but it's not going to be a game changer. I think the same thing would still be true.
I'm good.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks,
Thank
Ted.
you very much, Ted.
Citizen Service and Local Management Board, approval of bylaw revisions.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'm here before you today with Ed Singer, who is our Local Management Board Manager, also our Chair of the Local Management Board, Christina Ogle. And we're here today to present the bylaw revisions for our Local Management Board and to seek your approval of those bylaws. I'm going to turn it over to Ed Singer, who's going to walk us through, along with Christina, about the process that we use to make the revisions and then also the recommended changes.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I guess last month was our last September, end of September was our first in-person meeting, I guess, since COVID for the Local Management Board, and we had 15 out of 15 of our members present, which was great, and we're looking forward to keeping the meetings back to in person, and there's just so much more engagement when people are able to be around the table and even engage after the meeting sometimes. But we went through a process of the bylaws have been looked at for, I guess, a couple of months by the board itself, and there were some suggested changes that we needed to make, and there was also a new administrative manual that came out from the state level that had some wording changes and things that impacted how our bylaws were written. First thing that I'll mention, though, is we gave you a copy of the draft bylaws that are in your packet, and it says as adopted October 26th. Obviously, we got pushed to today, so we'll change that date on there if the commissioners allow us to adopt these bylaw changes. I guess we're going to tag team some of these, and I'll start off. The first changes that we have are administrative with the with the document, and they're largely because of name changes of agencies and things of that nature in the state of Maryland's local management board manual. So there's just for instance, the health departments used to have core service agencies, and it's now the local behavioral health authority, and some of the membership and some of the wording that's in the state's manual, we updated the bylaws to be consistent with that, and none of those are significant. They're just administrative changes and don't really change anything that the bylaws do. Christina?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to talk about a proposed change to Section 3A, which deals with membership. Currently, we have a set number of members at 15, and we'd like to change that to a range of number of members from 13 to 17 would be the range. And that would give us a little bit more flexibility if someone were to drop off of the local management board. We're not scrambling to find a replacement. And the flip side of that is if we have someone that has interest in being a part of the local management board, we don't have to wait until someone else drops off the board for the Board of Commissioners to consider a new applicant.
And then the next piece that's in here that we'll talk about, I just want to, I guess, a little bit about the composition of the local management board itself. There are mandated members, which include people from the school system, Department of Juvenile Justice, Department of Citizen Service, the Health Department, the Local Behavioral Health Authority, and Department of Social Services are mandated members. But we also have we have some right now. We have some providers such as HSP. We have the library system represented. We have the Youth Services Bureau represented, and the Boys and Girls Clubs actually on our local management board. We have a really good group of folks, and that flexibility we talked about in the first one is great because we can look for the right members when people want to come on, and it gives us the flexibility to go up or down in members and have the right folks that are making decisions on the programs that impact our children, youth, and families here in Carroll County. But the one thing we talked about is there's presently a section in the bylaws that it allows for people to serve 2 terms, and then it requires them to take a 1-year break, essentially a gap year, and then they can come back and serve 2 more terms. We'd like to take that gap year out of there because a lot of times we find we get people on the board that are very engaged and are the appropriate people to be helping us make these decisions for our county, and we hate having to have them take a break. We may ultimately lose them, and they might get involved in something else and not come back to the local management board. So we would like to eliminate that 1-year gap between serving consecutive terms and allow people just to essentially serve without that gap year. So, and we can discuss these once we got one other.
One question, without the gap year, then they can still only serve 4 years?
Yeah, it's still a maximum of 4 terms.
Okay.
Right now, they can serve 4 terms, but
they've
between
gotta
the
have a
first and
gap.
second and third and fourth, they've got to take a year off. And you know, a lot of times there's some things that people get very involved. Well, a lot of times it takes a year or 2 when you're on a board to really start getting involved. And when you gain some momentum, to have to take a gap, it's something that you might be bought into. It may lose interest, or things may have moved on beyond that if you're taking a gap in your service on the board. So we're requesting that change. Did I miss something?
Did you talk about number 3?
Oh.
The second part of number 3?
Yeah, and, I'm sorry, I've got another piece too that, we kind of outlined this, and I was thinking I was turning it back to Christina, but the other thing we wanted to do was, there's specific dates in our bylaws right now as to when people can be appointed to the local management board, and it's easy enough for me to track them in a spreadsheet and know when people's terms are coming up. I guess it was for the ease of administering at one point in time, and it was a specific month that people could be appointed. We just like to let people be appointed whenever they happen to apply, and then their term would be that number of years, and we would track it to make sure that they know when their term's up for renewal, or we know when it's time for them to be replaced, and we just like to eliminate those specific dates from the bylaws.
And then finally, the state LMB manual encourages the participation of youth on local LMBs throughout the state. And we are working to establish a youth action board in the community. And we want to welcome youth to participate in decisions on issues that impact them. We propose to eliminate the specific age requirement that is in the current bylaws in order for youth to meaningfully participate as a member.
And, one of the things we talked about is we meet during the day, and it's often hard to get somebody who's school-aged. And youth are considered up to age 24, so we could conceivably have somebody representing youth that are over 18. But I think having somebody, that's of school age that are being impacted by some of the issues that we're talking about as a local management board, participate in our discussions is very helpful. And we've actually had some discussion with the school system of what that would look like. We only meet every other month, so it's not a huge amount of time, but we wouldn't want the youth to have to come, so we would probably have them participate virtually, and they'd have a spot in the schools where they could go and sit and participate in the meeting. But we do think having the input of younger people who are actually impacted by a lot of the services that we oversee as a local management board would be a good thing, and we'd like to. And actually, it's encouraged by the state that we not have an age restriction in our bylaws.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what is the current age requirement?
It says 18 in our bylaws.
Okay.
So I'd like to, I guess, start off with two very quick questions. I mean, first of all, pretend I know absolutely nothing about the LMB, right? For anybody who's listening, what is it? What does it do? Because we're talking about changing the bylaws, but there may be some people listening, in particular young people. Sure. And I think that's a good idea to include young people who may not know what it is goes on.
So the LMB doesn't provide any direct services, but what we do is we're the coordinator of services that are available for children, youth, and families. And there are a number, primarily the behavioral health services that we're talking about. And we have a local care team that falls under the LMB, which does coordination for children that are really struggling and families that are really struggling to find services, and we help. Well, first of all, we oversee a number of contracts for what we call sub-grantees. There's money that comes from the Governor's Office of Youth and Victim Services. It used to be called something different, so I have to keep that right in my mind. There's money that comes from there. We prioritize what is needed in the community, and then we contract with providers to use those grant funds to provide services in Carroll County. We have also some money that comes through the Department of Social Services to the Youth Services Bureau, and really a lot of what that is focusing on trying to keep kids in their homes rather than having them placed in foster care. Some of these kids are very difficult, and trying to find the supports for parents and the families to make. I look at it, and the reason that I took this job is I want to give the youth an opportunity to be successful. And the programs that we're involved with and we oversee are trying to give the youth an opportunity where if the parents are struggling or the family's struggling, to be successful adults. And you're talking about the Boys and Girls Club earlier. I think they're a good example, and that money doesn't come. That money comes from the commissioners as a through the Not in Carroll funding. And I know it was the health department's original idea, but we oversee the programming that got expanded out into the middle schools and whatnot, and making sure that the Boys and Girls Clubs are meeting their contractual obligations to us. And we have some money that comes through the Department of Juvenile Justice that funds some programs that for people who are engaged in the juvenile justice system. And again, it all comes back to we've got to find a way. A lot of times the kids aren't getting the support maybe that they need at home, or the parents need more support to try to help with kids who are having difficult mental health problems or other behavioral health problems. To give them an opportunity to be successful, because the last thing we want is kids growing up not to be successful, and then they wind up in our criminal justice system, and then they cost society a lot of money. So it's, this is all about trying to prevent things from being negative as as these youth and children are growing up to be adults, and giving them an opportunity to be successful citizens of our county.
And so, thank you very much for that. And so, I noted that you guys had talked about having a membership number between 13 and 17. Why were those two numbers in particular seen as ideal?
So primarily because, well, 15 has been a pretty good number for the board. If you get a larger board where it's 20 or 30 people, it's often hard to get everybody to be able to actively participate in a meeting that happens every other month for what are we, hour and a half, to try to gain consensus and move things forward. I've been on larger boards, and we had some discussion about this, and I think at one point in time, the local management board was much larger than what it is now, and it gets very difficult to have a meaningful conversation when you have too many people at the table. But the people that we have represented that I kind of talked about earlier, I think they're appropriate to be engaged in this conversation. They're important to have in the conversation. Right now, we're kind of missing a little bit maybe from the business community and that youth perspective, and we'd like to try to get some of those folks added in there. But kind of that 13 to 17 is a good number to have for this type of a group to be able to conduct business.
So if somebody wanted to apply to be a part of this board, what is the process for doing that? And on top of that, I know that there are certain categories of representatives that you're looking for, but how do you make the determination who among those categories is worth putting on the board?
Well, and I don't know that we've ever had more applicants than we've had spots on the board. The application process is pretty simple. You all have a link on the website that allows people to apply, but that process comes through us as a local management board to vet that person, and then ultimately it comes back to you as commissioners to make a decision to appoint the person or not, and we give you a recommendation. I mean, the board ultimately has the authority to appoint whoever you want to the board, but it's it's good for, I think, the way bylaws have been set up and the way that we kind of like it is that we're able to give you a recommendation as to who we think's a good fit in making these types of decisions for our youth and children and families.
So my last question, for the young people that you're interested in having participate in this, how do you get the word out to them? Would it be through social media, through the schools, posters?
Well, we have some ideas, and the school system's one place. We're also working to try to, the LMB's been trying to get a youth action board established and going, and essentially, that's a group that has had struggles with homelessness and behavioral health issues and family issues and that type of thing. To have them kind of bring that youth perspective to the Circle of Caring and to the LMB, and probably, it's going to take some effort on our part to get that going. This is not an easy group to engage, and sometimes we wonder whether if we go over there, whether we're going to see people there or not. And the last time, about a month ago, we went to the first Youth Action Board that I was able to attend, and there was 13 youth there that had been either experienced homelessness at some point in their life and that type of thing. So hopefully, we'd like to try to find somebody that might be involved with that group or through the school system to serve on the board. But we've got some ideas. It's just a matter of identifying the right person and for them having the time to be able to commit to something like this.
Thank you very much.
On the age limit, let's say you have 15 and you're happy with 15, and the range is to keep you legal when somebody resigns and add somebody that you want to add earlier. Is there any restriction to the number of people under 18? It's like Board of Education. There is a student rep, but they're not a voting rep in Carroll County. And we can go back and forth on what you think about that, but some of these kids have many experiences that we wish they didn't have, but still, somebody under 18 is very limited in their life experiences, and you'd have them as a voting member. Is there any reason to restrict how many you could have, or you think that'll take care of itself?
Well, first of all, there are, I think, 7 or 8 mandated members that are members of different agencies and whatnot. So I can't see us having more than 1 or 2 youth members on this, on the local management board, just because of the required members that are there and whatnot. It's, I certainly don't see us getting to that point. Even trying to get 1 youth to commit to do this is gonna be difficult. I know that people who have been in my position in the past have tried to get youth engaged in this, and it's not an easy thing. And I'm not sure whether this youth action board that we're trying to establish, how successful that's going to be. We're trying to give them support, we're trying to encourage them, but ultimately the youth have to want to do it. And they have to want to advocate for themselves. You know, some of the stories I heard from these folks when we were over there, it's amazing. You don't think we have in Carroll County, but there's some kids that just don't want to get in the foster care system because they don't want to be moved away from their friends or their school. But maybe their situation at home is bad enough that they don't want to be at home either, and they try to get away from that. Well, because of the way our laws are set up, there's not. If somebody's a homeless, unaccompanied youth, there's no resources out there for them. And you know, we got to try to find some way to support these kids that are struggling. And one kid told me, you know, I like to try to get my homework done, but I'm not sure where I'm sleeping tonight. And you know, it's nice that somebody wants to get their homework done, because I hear from my wife all the time, who's a teacher, that most kids don't want to do their homework. So anyway. I don't know, Commissioner, if that answers your question. I can't see us having more than a couple on there. I mean, if you want to put a specific restriction in there, we can, but I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, and you made a good point. The mandated members is almost half the board, so you're restricted there. Is this the regular 3-year cycle of reviewing these bylaws, or did the state changing things make you jump it ahead, or?
So we haven't reviewed them. The last time they were reviewed was 2015. I've got what was done then. But I think what happened was the board was in the process of reviewing the bylaws, and then the state wrote a new local management board manual that went into effect 2021. So, and there's been some changes in the manager of the LMB over that period of time. So we're a little bit behind in doing the regular review on them. That's kind of where this is. It's the regular review, but it needed to be updated because of the change in the manual anyway. But it kind of, I know that from the health department standpoint, when I was at the health department, we were working on bylaw changes back when I was at the health department with the LMB, but they kind of got brought to a halt because the state was revising its manual.
Makes sense. Thanks. Guys?
So one other quick question. You had mentioned the possible removal of that 1-year break after the 2 terms. So the terms are, let me read this here. So the terms are 3-year terms each.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, yes. So you'd have, so if you remove that, you would allow them for two sets of 2 terms. So it'd be 12 years max.
Yes.
Is what you'd be looking for. Okay. I just wanted to confirm that. Okay.
So, thank you for being here, presenting the bylaws. I appreciate the discussion we're having, and I intend on supporting them. I became interested in the local management board and its functions prior to becoming a commissioner, because I recognize how truly important it is. And the more I've learned about it, the more I've felt that way, and I've asked a lot of questions along the way, and Ms. Steckles answered every single one of them. And I was very pleased to see that you were assigned as management, the local management board as well, bringing groups together. But some of the things I did learn concerned me about how the board operated in the past. And in particular, in this, you know, again, we're elected officials up here. We represent constituents, and we figure out who gets money and who doesn't. We're in charge of a lot. We take this job very seriously. So I did see some things that concerned me. I do not intend for this to be a discussion, a takedown of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. We could go on and on about that. That's a political issue, rightly so. But what organizations and companies and corporations have determined over the past several years is that it doesn't create the efficiencies that people thought it would. It creates a lot of inefficiencies. It creates a lot of unnecessary subjectivity, and it would concern me learning more about the LMB was some of the things I saw from a year and a half ago where, for instance, the LMB was following the Racial Equity and Inclusion Action Guide. That was one of its main goals dating back to the spring of 2022. What I don't see is that in these bylaws, and I'm glad, because the function is too important to allow things like that to guide what's going on with the LMB, particularly if it's a county function. So I felt like, and I'm looking at recent meetings, and I don't see that in there. But it seemed to me that there was a point in time that this issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion should not be guiding the LMB, and I don't have the impression that it does. But looking in the past, I saw things that really concerned me because, again, this is a county function. So I'm not going to put you on the hot seat. I hope that's not a part of what's going on. In particular, again, this 7-step plan to advance and embed racial equity was part of the LMB's function back in March of 2022. We have so much going on in this county. The function of the LMB is so important, and there's so much concerns over what that really means. And again, I'm not going to run a whole takedown of DEI because that's just not necessary right now. But what I don't see in these bylaws, I appreciate. What I saw back in the spring of 2022 concerned me greatly. And this function and this job, the LMB, is far too important to have that guide what goes on. I can only speak for myself as one of 5 commissioners. I've already stated very strongly that I completely support what the LMB is doing, and I don't see any way around that. I mean, the function is invaluable. What our nonprofits are doing in the county, invaluable. I've gotten to know these folks that are mandatory members, if you will, of the LMB, and they're just the most amazing, hardworking folks that you could ever meet, including yourself, including everybody sitting up here. But I really hope going forward, rather than put you on the hot seat and ask you questions, I really hope that that is not a part of the LMB's future guidance, what's guiding the LMB in the future. Again, because we could go on and on about the merits of it or not, but I wanted to mention that. I felt inclined to mention that. I felt obligated to mention that because the job is too important. And it clearly looks like at some point in time in the past, that became a major focus of the LMB, and I don't know how that happened, but I just hope that doesn't happen again in the future.
Well, I did want to speak to it, just one of the pieces of the diversity, equity, inclusion, and the funding that we receive for the LMB, because it is state funded. When we write for those grant proposals, we are identifying, there were 2 pieces that were included in the last proposal, and that included that every aspect of what the LMB does and all of our performance measures and our identified outcomes for our programs that are submitting, so the CCYSB and their suicide intervention program and their Connecting Youth program, that it has to be incorporating a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. This is a state requirement of the funding we're receiving. And the other piece is that we are also looking at it from a trauma-informed lens, from the ACEs perspective. So those are the 2 pieces that are a requirement in that funding that we're agreeing to when we are accepting that funding. So I think that when you say that you saw that piece in there, certainly that was why it was in there. And that has not changed. There is still a focus for that in the way that we write for our applications and the projects and the programs that are coming in and applying to provide those services in our community.
So I'm not surprised to hear that that's a requirement from the state of Maryland. I mean, we sit up here and we see our fair share of requirements and things we have to follow, but I'm talking about, I mean, if I'm looking at minutes from a meeting and that is a focus of the meeting, so this 7-step process to advance and embed racial equity, what we have to do to secure grants, I understand that. But I'm talking the actual function and vision and guidance and direction of the board itself. I don't see why that would have to be a part of that. You know, so that's my concern.
Commissioner, if I could just add, the one thing that's important is that, you know, these services are available to everybody, regardless of who they are. And one of the things that's important to understand is that the suicide rates and whatnot amongst some of the folks that are included in those groups that are sometimes marginalized are higher than they are in other parts of the community. It's just a fact statistically, and you know, we certainly while I agree with you that maybe the focus doesn't need to be there, we do have to be welcoming to just about anybody that comes through. Well, to anybody that comes through our doors, because regardless of who you are, we want you to be a successful adult, and whether we agree with, you know, how you think about things or kind of where you are, questioning where you are as a person, that type of thing. When we talk about some of this diversity and equity things, we still want to help let you become a successful, productive member of our society. We don't want to have suicides and other mental health issues amongst that population. So I guess, you know, I agree with you that the focus shouldn't simply be on that population, but they need to be welcomed to the services that we're providing, whether it's through us or through one of the agencies that we're providing funding to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would never suggest otherwise. But I mean, as you alluded to at the very end there, when that's the focus, it creates inefficiencies. It creates bureaucracy. It creates, which I don't think are necessary, and it's not going to stop you from doing your job. So that's my only concern. And again, if it's the overwhelming vision of the LMB to focus on those things, then that's my concern, is what those things can create. Maybe not intentionally, but that's what happens. So again, you know, as commissioner, you know, we sit up here, we legislate, we're executors, we're not administrators per se, but we do serve that function. And I wanted to ask that question. I understand at the state level, there's a lot of things that we have to do as commissioners too that we might not agree with, but it's for the best of the county, it's for the best of the citizens. I'm not suggesting that the LMB would ever operate anything other than the way it's doing now. It is extremely welcoming. There are things in the bylaws that, you know, make sure we're representing everybody equally in the county. You know, but equality and equally are two different, equity and equality are two different things. You know, I'm all for equality. And that's just, I want to make sure that's the focus going forward. I don't doubt that it is, but in the past, I grew a little concerned about some of the things that I saw because I just want the LMB to be successful. That's it. That's it.
Understood. Thank you.
And you pretty much just said you want to help those that need it. You're not looking that you can check off a box that which criteria they met, but whoever needs it, you want to help. And I'd like to think you wouldn't exclude anyone, you know. So hopefully
We've been
it's
doing
just
a
a
lot of-
redundant message.
We've been doing a lot of outreach recently. Maria Lowry, who's our LCT coordinator, and we've been going to a lot of events and just trying to make sure that everybody in the community is aware. We've been getting a ton of referrals, which has made our job a little harder, but that's what we're there for. And we're just trying to make sure that everybody's aware of what's available through the LMB and that they have an opportunity, that everybody has an opportunity to access the things that we can bring to the table to help the families.
And everybody should.
And I'd be happy to talk, you know, or present at any time, or just speak to you offline about the you know, some of the questions that you had and the past focus of the LMB and some of the resources that were provided to us that we went through. I'd be happy to talk about that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And I'll just, you know, echo what Commissioners Guerin and Kyler have said. I don't want anybody to be excluded for any reason, not least of which something that is ideologically and politically motivated that has unnecessarily demeaning effects when it shouldn't, right? It's one thing to say that we want to be equal and inclusive, but I want to make sure that nobody is being excluded necessarily because we're trying to adhere to a particular system and way of doing things. So I totally get where you're coming from. And no one would ever accuse you guys of excluding anybody, so please know that. But I certainly take and appreciate the concern that was raised.
Thanks.
Any more questions, or are we ready for a motion?
Motion to approve the revisions of the LMB bylaws.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited that we have new bylaws approved. This is excellent.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Bylaws are
folks.
important.
They are.
And let us know if there's anything we can do to help advertise, to
benefit from it.
encourage people to apply to be part of the board.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, this was definitely helpful, and I loved your questions to promote people to do that.
Well, thank you very much.
And I said it earlier, thanks for helping with the family, and do you have a wetsuit? I don't see you staying dry.
I got a natural wetsuit, you know, I got enough natural insulation, it's not gonna be a problem, and you know what? Commissioner, I appreciate you bringing that up, but I've told people, if you wanna donate to Terry because you hated me because of COVID, or you don't like me because of something else, go ahead and donate to Terry, it's still going to the Boys and Girls Club.
Exactly.
It's all good.
For the record, Rhonda and I donated to both, and I hope it's a tie and they make you both get wet.
That sounds perfect. I'd love to see her go in. But I got a feeling, Commissioner, if it comes down to it and I'm $5,000 ahead, she's writing a check for $5,000.
Take care.
Okay, now we get to see Department of Rec and Parks and talk about self-help projects.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How awesome to have Mr. Hicks before us for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. I hope you're both doing well today.
Very much so.
All right, so we're before you this morning for approval of the fall 2023 self-help project requests and transfer of funds. The Recreation and Parks Advisory Board voted to approve 13 self-help projects requests that were presented at their September 27th meeting. Funds have been appropriated for the FY24 capital budget to cover the county's portion of the funding for these projects, and we're requesting the board's approval to transfer the funds from the project community self-help to the individual self-help projects for the total amount of $92,916.
A general question, and I'm not sure if you still do it this way. Do self-help requests come in twice a year, and what's the annual budget? Have you exhausted it or not quite used it all? Where are we?
Yeah, typically, we have about $90,000 a year for self-help. And this year, there were 16 applications. So there were actually more applications than the budget required, you know. So essentially, we're approving, we've accepted 13 of the 16 applications this year. They typically run twice a year, but because that we exhausted those funds, we're just doing it this year, or this fall, for the year.
And it's a $25,000 limit. I think it was 15 at one point in time, got raised to 25 a long time ago. It hasn't changed.
It is 25,000, yes.
But it can be less, and this shows council funds, but can it also still be volunteer hours and
To a degree. Typically, the split is 75-25. If you're using volunteer hours, that split can go down to 15%.
okay.
So do you find that over time, the number of requests for these projects has increased, or do they vary from year to year depending on circumstances?
I think some of the larger projects are getting more expensive. But some of the projects that we typically see, like replacing infield mix, is about the same for the most part.
I was just kind of curious because obviously as parks get older and facilities age and maintenance has to increase, whether or not the number of projects themselves also increase commensurate with that, so, thank you.
Somewhat, yes.
Well, motion to approve the fall 2023 self-help project requests and transfer of funds from community self-help to individual self-help accounts for the total amount of $92,916.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, guys. And now, we want to talk about Leicester Park Playground Surfacing replacement.
I have some photographs that I wish to share with you.
Sure.
Sure, yep, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
This is almost like a piece of modern art, the way it looks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Recreation and Parks, requests your approval to award Game Time Cunningham Recreation to replace port-in-place playground surfacing with concrete curb containment at Leicester Park in the amount of $70,389.44. This work will be performed through an Omnia Partners contract that was competitively bid. This amount is within the fiscal year 24 budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
So, the surface there now is what's in the photo, which a lot of that was intended to help access for more people. What surface will be inside the curb when this all happens?
It'll be a port-in-place surface similar to this one that you see here. This playground's been up for about 10 years now, so the surfacing is about 10 years old as well. And there's 4 areas. I'm just showing 2 of the areas, but 4 of the areas are rather large failures. I can't speak to exactly why the failures have occurred, but you can see on the last page, there is no containment for the surfacing. So the grass is getting in the surfacing, and there's also no underdrain. And that typically is something that's critical for the longevity of a surface.
So is that something that we should look into, some kind of border or perimeter to this? And some kind
That's
of...
our standard now.
Okay. And just one last question. What is this green thing down there in the corner?
That is the end of a slide.
Well, that's probably why you have the depression there, so everybody's jumping off the slide, I would
Yeah.
guess.
But it's failing in multiple places.
Motion to approve the replacement of poured-in-place playground surfacing with concrete curbs to Game Time, care of Cunningham Recreation, in the amount of $70,389.44.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good presentation. Okay, approval to purchase computers.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Public Safety Emergency Management, requests your approval to purchase 31 Optiplex small form factors from Dell Technologies in the amount of $29,171. Dell Technologies was awarded a contract from the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance and its master agreement, which was competitively bid. This purchase will be made using FFY 2020 and FFY 2021 State Homeland Security Grant Program funding, and no additional funds should be required.
Good morning, Commissioners. As noted in the background, the Primary Emergency Operations Center currently has 31 desktop computers. They're designed so that every designated function that would have a representative in the EOC during an Emergency Operations Center response has access to a desktop computer. The existing computers are getting older. They don't last forever, obviously, and they no longer meet the parameters for the critical nature of the EOC's operations. So they're just in need of an upgrade to maintain that state of readiness for response.
Motion to approve the purchase of Optiplex small form factors from Dell Technologies in the amount of $29,171.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Upgrade of New Windsor and COB backup dispatch centers.
Okay.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Public Safety, requests your approval to upgrade 2 console workstations, one each at both primary and alternate emergency communication centers, with Motorola Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $174,339. This upgrade will include new VPM consoles, accessory equipment, and installation. Motorola Solutions was awarded the State of Maryland contract, and this amount is approved in the fiscal year 24 budget, and no additional funds will be required.
So as noted again, both the primary and alternate emergency communications centers underwent a significant renovation and expansion in early 2021. At that time, the radio capability was not incorporated into every single one of the positions, the workstations, basically. So this project is intended just to make sure that all 14 positions in both centers have the full capability. And Communications Center Manager Jack Brown is here in case you have any specific questions regarding this particular request.
So was it not done in 2021 because things have changed, or this is just a step process, that this is the next step?
I was not involved in that particular renovation, so Jack can certainly speak to that.
The coronavirus relief funding provided for a specific number of additions at each site. When we were going through the design phases, we were afforded the opportunity to expand by 1 additional position, which gives us 15 seats at each. So this will then fully fit out all 15 positions with radio, phone, and CAD capabilities.
Awesome.
Throughout the process, the numbers board paid for the furniture and the 911 phone system, which is already in place. So this will just be an addition to that.
Motion to approve the upgrade of the primary emergency communication center workstation and alternate emergency communication center workstation to Motorola Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $174,339.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we want to look at the acceptance of awards from Department of Homeland Security.
All right, good morning once again.
Good morning again.
And I will remember to introduce you today. Assistant Emergency Manager Jacob Hill is with me as well this morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So each year, Carroll County is provided with the grant award notices for each of the Department of Homeland Security funding streams that we receive. The grants identify the dollar amount that we're being awarded as well as any match required. The 3 grants that we have received notification that we're being awarded funds for are the Emergency Management Performance Grant, the Urban Area Security Initiative Grant, and the State Homeland Security Grant Program Grant. The specifics for each one of those grants, the amounts, the performance period, the proposed uses are included on the second page of the brief. So we're here today to ask that you accept these grant awards for Carroll County for this year and to answer any questions you may have regarding that request for
So
acceptance.
only one of the 3 have a required match,
Correct.
and the required match is in the budget and requires no additional monies.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. The Emergency Management Performance Grant does require a 100% match, but that is met every year with budgeted funds.
Motion to accept the FFY 2023 Department of Homeland Security grant awards as presented.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, and congratulations on the work
Give any
applying
more
for
items,
these.
or where? You're gonna go
Not today.
now. No, thank you very much.
You just want to stack the agenda up, don't you?
Okay, option to purchase proposed Critical Farms program application of Thomas Wells.
Yep, here they come.
They're coming?
Yes.
Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Commissioners.
We must be going too quickly.
No problem there. Oh, okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Appreciate the time. We're here before you today to request final approval for Critical Farms Program. Applicant Thomas Walsh. Thomas Walsh is a contract purchaser of 3311 and 3315 Shiloh Road, Hampstead, 188.53 acres. Phew, maybe I did come up the steps. We're retiring 33 lot rights, and this farm is located in District 2. The appraised value of the farm was $2,792,000, and his purchase price was $1,928,200. Cost to the county is $1,012,000, and that is 52.5% of the purchase price, which is lower than the appraised value. Here's where the farm sits on Shiloh Road and how it sits with other preserved properties in the area. So a few pictures of the farm itself.
Beautiful.
Shiloh Road is beautiful. There's a lot of really nice farms out there.
The property to the one side of Shiloh, is that where the sawmill used to be?
I'm not familiar with the
You're not
sawmill.
Okay.
Maybe a little before my time. I don't know.
Thank you.
Motion to disapprove.
Oh.
Commissioner Kyler, was that back when they were doing everything by hand?
Yeah. I thought with Commissioner Rothstein not here, there'd be no age jokes today. Guess I was wrong.
So again, we're here for the final approval of Thomas Walsh at 3311 and 3315 Shiloh Road, Hampstead, 188.53 acres. We're retiring 33 lot rights in District 2. Appraised value of $2,792,000. Purchase price $1,928,200 at a cost to the county of $1,012,305, which is 52.5% of the purchase price.
Commissioner Kyler, you want to take this one, District 2?
Go
You
ahead.
sure?
Go ahead. You've been doing great.
All right. Motion to exercise the option to purchase for Thomas E. Walsh through the Critical Farms Program in the amount of $1,012,305.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 2023 fall tree planting.
So we're not felling trees, we're planting trees in the fall.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Maybe we should change it to autumn tree planting.
Oh.
Have that problem.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Resource Management, requests your approval to award a contract in the amount of $114,241.84 to Red Hill Lawn Services, LLC. The Office of Procurement solicited bids for the planting of 2,922 native trees to establish or enhance an upland forest of over 10.42 acres across Carroll County. This planting will provide the county with 12.45 of impervious acre treatment credit towards compliance with our NPDES permit. The Office of Procurement received 7 bids, with Red Hill Lawn Services LLC being the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. The results of the bid opening are listed as follows. $75,000 will be paid utilizing a grant from Maryland Department of Natural Resources, and the remaining is approved within the fiscal year 24 budget, and no additional funds should be required.
Is this multiple sites?
Yes, yeah, there's 6 different sites, 3 county sites, 1 in town of Manchester, and 2 on private properties.
Motion to award the contract for the 2023 fall tree planting to Red Hill Lawn Services, LLC in the amount of $114,241.84.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I do. Thank you, Commissioner Kyler. So going back to the, so Mr. Madigan, I know that the commission approved some additional jobs, positions within the Bureau of Resource Management. Was this one of them, or have you been with the county for quite some time? I apologize for my ignorance on.
Oh, no.
Oh,
So
sure, yeah.
Byron is our water resource supervisor. He has been with the county for, I believe, 15
Yeah, 15
years now. So the water resource position that was approved in the FY24 budget was for a technician to work within Byron's group to help with the monitoring that he does throughout the county.
Okay.
They will also help with tree planting plans, like those that were written for these particular projects, to enhance buffers, because we can get MPDS credit for the buffers that we
Okay.
plant.
Okay, thank you for that. As a follow-on, I've noticed that from time to time I'll see, because I do some hunting, I've seen some plantings within some of the WMAs, the wildlife management areas, I think, if I use the right term.
Yes.
Would that be part of the same program, or is that
So one-
is that a DNR program? Or?
One that we did was in Gillis Falls, if you're familiar with that one. That was our program. It was a grant that we received through Maryland DNR.
Okay.
We did in 2020. That planting's about 3
That's
years old.
the Maring?
Yep, that's the Maring
Okay,
one.
that was pretty wild to watch. Messed up my bow hunting, but anyway. So I haven't been out there for a while, but what's the success rate on the plantings? I mean, I know you're going to lose a certain number of these, but do we have a way of? I'll let you. Yeah.
Yeah, so we contract with so Red Hill, for example, for this one, we'll be required to have 75% survival at the end of 3 years. And we plant these trees on about 220 to 300 trees per acre. And what we do with state forest standards is 100 trees per acre survival. So overall, after we inspect these every year to make sure that the contractor is reaching 75% survival, and then we inspect them every 3 years after that, just like a stormwater BMP, to make sure that we're still within those 100 trees per acre, that it's a reforestation. So we do have the survivability built into the original contract.
Thank you for that.
So the first 3-year inspection, if it only has 50% survival, the contractor has to replace.
Correct. They're responsible
After
for
that, it's the counties.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Approval to purchase fire alarm equipment.
Morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Well, how are you?
Doing good.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Facilities, requests your approval to award the purchase and installation of a new fire alarm system, including the removal of the old system at the North Carroll Library in Hampstead, which is District 2, to Omega Fire, Life, and Safety in the amount of $75,063.17. Omega Fire and Life Safety is a term contractor with Carroll County. This amount is approved within the fiscal year 24 budget, and no additional funds should be required.
Morning, Commissioners. Omega Fire Life Safety will be installing, it's loud, will be installing a new fire alarm system with audio coverage to 100% of the building. It includes the upper and lower level of this facility. All the fire life safety devices throughout the building will be replaced during this project, along with new shop drawings and submittals for permitting applications. Omega has successfully installed fire alarm safety devices throughout Carroll County for facilities in the past, and currently has one under project here at this location. They're going through this building and doing the same type of work, upgrading the system. So if you have any questions at this time, I can be glad to ask them for you.
Do you have multiple term contractors for this type of work?
We do.
So in this case, you would go to them and ask one or two or whatever to price this specific work, and then
Yep.
interview and pick one of your term contractors?
Absolutely. Currently, we have two contractors, Chesapeake Sprinklers and Omega. So we reach out to those two vendors for these prices.
Now, are all the libraries in need of fire alarm upgrades, or there just happens to be a one-off?
Depends on the age of the system. We have an asset management program where it kind of throws us a little tickler out there when we need to start looking into replacing, and it's also driven on everything's computerized now, so updates. If that's firmware it's too old and that program can't get updates, well, now we got to update this system to the newer version. And this system is original to the building, roughly 30 years old. We had some repairs done in the past, and as we upgrade HVAC units in these buildings, obviously codes back then are different than codes today. So now we got to add more devices into these air handlers, such as smoke detectors, heat detectors, that we may need to upgrade the head end of the fire alarm to support these new devices into the system. Because back in the day, they didn't need all these devices. So it's all kind of peeling the onion back. So you do one project, and it may open up another project that we need to start looking into.
Gotcha. Motion to approve the purchase and installation of a new fire alarm system for the New Carroll Library to Omega Fire and Life Safety in the amount of $75,063.17.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Should say, I'm sorry,
there should be
North
North
Carroll
Carroll.
Library.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I'll make the motion again, if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Motion to approve the purchase and installation of a new fire alarm system for the North Carroll Library to Omega Fire and Life Safety in the amount of $75,063.17.
Second.
I was afraid you moved it to Tonytown or something. So thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Storm drains replacement at Wolf Hill Drive.
Good morning.
Good morning to you
Morning.
both.
Where are they at?
Your pictures should be down there in red and white.
We're trying to get some pictures pulled up.
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Roads Operation, requests your approval to award Stamballs, Inc., an existing term contractor, to perform a pipe replacement on Wolf Hill Drive in Hampstead in the amount of $117,087. Roads Operation obtained 4 quotes from our term contractors that are listed below. This amount is within the fiscal year '24 budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
Good morning, Commissioners. As you can see on the PowerPoint, we have the location noted around here where the little green dots are and the cross pipe that goes across the road. And then this is what the intake and the outfall of the pipe that's getting replaced looks like. And we'll be doing the modified head walls on that as well. In addition, this is a picture of what the bottom of the pipe actually looks like. In addition, we'll be replacing a section of pipe between 2 inlets that then also will outfall at the same location. Traffic will be closed through that small section of road, but Wolf Hill is circular, so there won't impede anybody's ability to get in and out.
Any idea on the length of the project?
3 to 4 days.
3 to 4 days?
Mhm. Any other questions?
And we'll let Union Bridge know that this is going to happen?
Wolf Hill, this is over in the Upper Co area, over on the backside of
I'm
Hampstead.
sorry, I was looking at you, I apologize. I'm looking where Stambaugh is based, I
Stan Balls
apologize.
is the one doing that, yeah.
I apologize, this is my fault.
And you were able to find a qualified bog turtle specialist, or otherwise known as a QBTS.
Yes, we have.
Make sure of that.
Actually, Chris Litnauchen's office provided me with multiple contractors. And then we've sent that out to the contractor themselves, and that's going to be part of the contractor's responsibility to work with the bog turtle specialist and get them scheduled in on site.
Learn something every day.
Commissioner Guerin, you thinking about moonlighting? Maybe as a, was it a
might-
cube?
I might do that.
We call them turtle herders.
Turtle herder?
Yeah, that's
Rob,
what we
I
call
might be able to handle that.
Motion to award the contract to Stambaugh Incorporated for the pipe replacement on Wolf Hill Drive in the amount of $117,087.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Stream stabilization improvements at Stone Manor wastewater pumping station.
Wonder if there are any turtles there.
Let's hope not. That could cost us. Got a lot of things falling apart up there in District 2. We got playgrounds, we got,
Evidently.
there's something going on that we don't know about?
I
Okay.
don't know.
Have all
Maybe
these
just-
problems started just in the last year?
Maybe just a lot of active use.
Good morning, both of you.
Morning.
Morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Utilities, requests your approval to award a contract for the construction of stream stabilization improvements in the vicinity of Stone Manor Wastewater Pumping Station to Stormwater Maintenance LLC of Sparks, Maryland, in the amount of $258,752. These improvements were recently advertised for bid on public purchase, and 9 qualified proposals were received and are summarized in the table below. One additional proposal was received, but it was deemed as non-responsive. The proposal submitted by Stormwater Maintenance is within the engineer's estimate and represents fair value. The bid amount is within the adopted budget.
Gentlemen, the Stone Manor Wastewater Pumping Station is located near Judges Court in the northern portion of the Freedom Service area, just to the west of Maryland 32. The pumping station was constructed in the late 1990s and is adjacent to an unnamed stream channel. Over time, that stream channel has meandered towards the pumping station and has caused severe erosion issues. If left unchecked, this erosion will eventually impact the pumping station. So this item is primarily for the construction work to reestablish approximately 460 feet of the stream channel away from the pumping station and to stabilize the erosion on the banks of the pump station. Once the work begins, it will take approximately 80 calendar days to complete the project. Any questions for me?
Is this more than the normal number of bidders? It seems like a lot of bidders for a project like this.
This is one of our first stream stabilization projects in quite some time, so I'm not really certain. Yes, it is a large number, but I'm not sure what the standard is out there for these types of projects.
We did have a good outcome, too, on the pre-bid as well. Got a lot of interest in that as well.
And the stream is unnamed. That's interesting.
As far as I know, yes. It's not a very long length of stream, but yes, as far as I can tell via our mapping network, there is no name for it.
That is really interesting.
And be the Commissioner Vigliotti.
Oh, no. That's where you want to put me, I guess, near a wastewater pumping. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
I walked right into that one.
Maybe I walked right into it. I don't know. Motion to award a contract for the construction of stream stabilization improvements in the vicinity of Stone Manor Wastewater Pumping Station to Stormwater Maintenance LLC in the amount of $258,752.00.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just real quick, the recommended motion said 250.80, so I wasn't, see, it wasn't just me. It wasn't me just not reading correctly.
My apologies, Commissioner. That was
No, that's all right. Unnamed streams, new numbers. Interesting day.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we're going to talk about an inspection services for this project.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Utilities, requests your approval to award a contract for construction inspection services for the stream stabilization improvements in the vicinity of Stone Manor Wastewater Pumping Station to Whitman Reichert and Associates in the amount of $40,080. This award will be made through a competitively bid term contract. This bid amount is within the adopted budget.
Gentlemen, very briefly, the construction improvements require full-time inspection services to ensure environmental compliance and quality work. My staff does not have that background to take care of this self-inspection. And just to let you know, the dollar amount is a not-to-exceed total. If the work takes less than 80 days, it'll obviously be less than the $40,000 figure. Any questions for me?
And I might not have paid attention, but so sometimes you use in-house inspectors, sometimes you use consultants. In this case, more because of the nature of the work, or just because you want somebody there all day? Why the choice of a consultant?
It's a combination of both. One, it's the type of work that's being done. We have state permitting involved, and it's essential that we maintain all those requirements. Secondly, my staff only inspects basically water improvements that are done within the roadway areas themselves. We have a very, very limited staff. We have 8 people for the entire Freedom area.
Okay.
Motion to award a contract for construction inspection services for the stream stabilization improvements in the vicinity of Stone Manor wastewater pumping station to Whitman, Reckart and Associates LLP in the amount of $40,080.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you both very much.
And we get to finish our meeting with preventive maintenance program Stryker equipment.
We're back.
Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Fire and EMS, requests your approval to purchase a 2-year preventative maintenance program, which includes battery service, parts, labor, and travel for all Stryker equipment from Stryker Medical in the amount of $422,827.82. This is a single-source purchase due to Stryker Medical being the only authorized provider to perform maintenance service. The amount is approved within the fiscal year 24 budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
The maintenance agreement is for our stretchers, our cardiac monitors, our AEDs, and those things that typically have been handled by CCV. So prior, I believe that money was allocated over to the county, and we're just fulfilling that obligation. That'll cover all transport units in the county and the utilities that have medical equipment on it.
Motion to award the purchase of a 2-year preventive maintenance program to Stryker Medical in the amount of $422,827.82.
Second.
Discussion?
What portion of this cost was anticipated? Was this something that you know, and I know we're still standing things up, but
My understanding is this cost was all already included in previous years into the CCVSA budget. It was no additional cost other than what was anticipated already.
Okay.
It's just one of the elements that we're sort of taking on as a direct county cost rather than filtering it
Yes,
through.
yeah, in addition to others, which is important to note. So,
Many
all
options.
right. Thanks.
Did you do, you did?
I made the motion.
You made the motion, we had a second.
I
No
thought
more
so.
discussion?
I thought maybe something was
No,
wrong.
no,
with my tire.
I didn't know if you had any more discussion.
You got me there, too.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kyler, I will compliment your diligence in overseeing the meeting.
Oh, I
We're
guess.
not done yet.
Chris, do we have any callers for public comment?
I have one on the line, sir.
No one?
No one
on the line.
Okay. Administrative session open. Do we have any comments or anything?
Nothing from me, sir.
No, nothing.
Then we need a motion to approve the closed minutes from 11/2/23.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And no other discussion? We're ready for agenda.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Wanda?
Morning.
Good.
Okay, week one, Monday, November 13th, Transit Advisory Council, and that is me. Tuesday, Carroll Community College Board of Trustees breakfast. 3 of us, Commissioners Kyler, Rothstein, and Vigliotti. And at 9 a.m., Planning and Zoning Commission, Commissioner Gordon. 7 p.m., Ag Center Board Meeting, Commissioner Rothstein. On Wednesday, the Farm Museum Board Meeting, Commissioner Vigliotti. At noon, Diabetes Awareness Month proclamation, Commissioner Vigliotti. 5 p.m., Carroll County Board of Trustees, and that is me. 7 p.m., Emergency Service Advisory, that is Commissioner Guerin. On Thursday, at 7:30 a.m., the Maryland Commerce Carroll County Day Exploration Commons, Commissioners Gordon, Kyler, and Rothstein. And then our regular 9 a.m. open meeting. First item, transfer of 2 county-owned parcels to the Arc of Carroll County. Second item, bulk requirements in commercial zones, text amendment. Third item, Circuit Court bailiff radios. Fourth item, Maryland 851 Main Street Water and Sewer main improvements. Fifth item, detention center maintenance contract. Sixth item, additional administration services for Washington Road Safe Routes to School Sidewalk Project. Item 7, reconstruction services for the Carroll County Sheriff's Office headquarters building. Item 8, review of recently constructed roundabout on Sullivan Road. Item 9, renewal of Microsoft Office 365 and Exchange subscriptions. Item 10, land management system maintenance and support removal. And then closed admins at noon because of the breakfast. And then Friday, November 17th, National Take a Hike Day at Piney Run Park. And right now, none of us are taking a hike. Saturday, Stitching History at the Farm Museum. This says Gordon and Vigliotti, and I'm also going, so please add my name. 6 p.m., Shock Trauma Center celebration, Commissioner Rothstein. And then Commissioner Rothstein has the podcast. Everybody's fine with week 1?
Yes, sir.
Week 2, on Monday, Town Hall, South Carroll Senior Center, Commissioner Rothstein at 10 a.m. And then he repeats his town halls at 6:30 p.m. Veterans Advisory Meeting, Commissioners Gordon and Kyler is at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. County offices are closed Thanksgiving Day and Friday. And Commissioner Vigliotti has the podcast. Any more information for week 2?
Nope.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Does anybody want to discuss it or fight to stay here longer? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.